Hey y'all, hi. So recently I have been inspired by a bunch of images of makeup looks that have like this extreme contrast between one either graphic or colorful element, usually on the eyes. All the rest of the makeup is so natural as to be literally undetectable. Not even no makeup, but like invisible, illusory. You're not even sure whether it's even makeup. And I want to try it. I'm not totally sure what I'm going to do for the graphic element, the colorful element. I have a couple of ideas. Weirdly, I'm kind of just as interested in the other part, laying this foundation of makeup that doesn't alter the features at all, but just ever so slightly enhances. I can't wait. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. For a base that doesn't look like makeup, for me, it's crucial to start with green color corrector. And this is a crucial step for a look like this, partly because this is essentially a skincare step, even though it's slightly correcting. So it doesn't sit on top of the skin like makeup. It's not visible as makeup. It really sinks into the skin and neutralizes the redness. And then I don't have to put very much foundation or concealer or tint or whatever I decide to use. I don't have to put very much on top of it. And the less of that type of thing I can use, the more natural my skin will end up looking. But also for me, because with the redness there unneutralized, the color of my skin is darker than my neck. Weirdly, if I don't neutralize that redness, it makes my face look more made up because of the difference in tone, even though it's redness and not makeup that's doing it. So this is essential. And now I really don't have to do a lot more. Okay, I'm going to do a tiny bit. What I was going to say is actually I might just spot conceal, and I think I actually could do that today. Just for the sake of it, I'm going to use a tiny bit of Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin Enhancing Tint, just in the places where one would traditionally use concealer, the high points of the face. It's blending into the green color corrector so completely that it's actually hard to even tell that it's there, but I think that it did enhance and even my skin just a little bit more, but I didn't put any of it on the sides of my face here. I'm just going to spot conceal there. And I will say, I feel like my skin's looking quite good, at least in the monitor it is. I prepped my skin earlier today, like hours before filming this video, but the final product that I used is a very old bottle that I dug out of a drawer, a bottle of, oh my gosh, what's it even called? Make Beauty Hydrascape, the moisturizing reverse emulsion. My skin has looked so good all day with that product on it, and I feel like it's provided a really good base for makeup. Like that was my primer, but hours ago, and it's still working as a primer. Wow, I'm glad that I dug that back out. Oh no, my concealer is somewhere in the house because the baby took it. The NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer, which is what I usually use to spot conceal. I'm sure I have another full coverage concealer. Yeah, these Natasha Denona concealers will work. Not as good because for spot concealing, I feel like a cream is better, but they're very full coverage. This is the shade Y1. Okay, this Natasha Denona concealer actually worked remarkably well. I kind of let it set for a little while, and then I was able to blend it out with a very small brush, just like I would have done with the NARS concealer. I'm really happy with how it was to work with that and with the results. My skin is also looking, I think, better than it was because I am starting to experiment with laser treatments. At this point, it was probably almost a month ago I got a Clear and Brilliant laser treatment. I am tiptoeing into the dubious world of cosmetic dermatology. I'm going to put disclosures about all of that in the description box of every video, basically going forward. So all of the details of what I've tried will be down there. I also have a little tiny bit of lip filler right now. You might be able to tell. It's still healing, so it's probably actually a little bit swollen, even more than it's going to end up settling as being, so maybe you can really tell. And I'm going to make a whole video about all of that, all of the gory details, so you can look forward to that. But for the time being, anything that I've done that's not just like skincare that you can use at home, I'll put it in the description box. In person though, my skin, I mean, it's looking pretty glowy, I think, still because of the Make product, but it doesn't look like it's been blanked out at all. The spots and blotches canceled out. It just looks sort of softened and really not very heavily made up, which is what I'm going for. Speaking of lips, my lips are really dry, so I want to put something on them. And this is tough because I'm so pale. How do you put something on your lips other than just a lip balm that helps to kind of ground everything, but isn't going to look like lip product at all? Okay, I found this Summer Fridays Lip Butter Balm in Vanilla Beige. It's actually making my lips kind of shinier than I would want them to be for the finished look. There's not very much pigment in it, but it's pretty shiny. I just need something to nourish my lips right now, and then maybe we'll address the finish of the lips at the end. One of the really pivotal aspects, I feel like, of my goal makeup look here today is going to be the eyebrows. There's nothing in my brows right now. They're not dyed. I mean, I dyed them weeks ago, but it's really faded. I need to keep it light with the brows. I need to keep them thin as they are, not too filled in, really natural looking. I'm starting with the Refi Brow Sculpt, just getting that product into my brows and now going back in with a little spoolie, kind of trying to shape them. This is interesting. It's so different for me, not trying to make my brow hairs take up as much space as possible, which is what I realize now that I'm usually doing. I'm usually using the gels and the spoolies, going to spread the hairs out as far out and up as possible and really try to make them take up surface area. And here I'm sort of squeezing them together into a thinner and more natural line, probably the most natural shape of my brows. And now there are just some spots. So I'm not going to, fill in a line underneath. I'm not going to fill in the front fully and make a shape. It's just like this spot right here is empty of hairs, whereas on this side it's not. So I'm going to fill that in a tiny bit, and so on and so forth all over both brows. Okay, I have to stop there. I have to hold myself back from continuing on. The fatal error, if I've made one, and the error that I can kind of feel myself continuing to want to make is making them too even, like too symmetrical and too even in tone throughout. So just like there's not the texture and sort of the tangled quality of natural unmade up brows, but more just like a watercolor painting of an eyebrow. It's really hard to hold myself back from doing that because I'm so used to going in on them like two little paintings and making them exactly the same as each other as far as is possible and making them as kind of bold in a way as possible. I think now still they do look like brows with makeup in them, but they're not going to be overpowering the look in the way that my normal eyebrows would. And I like them. I mean, I think probably some of you are going to be like, oh yeah, I like them better than the way you usually do it. And there's part of me that kind of does too. I have to remember this. I mean, I think that there's a place and time for every eyebrow under heaven. You know what I mean? I've been thinking about how many different ways one can do one's brows. I might make a video about it. These will leave at that. Blush, should I do anything? I mean, the point is not to have makeup on the rest of the face, but I think that the Chantecaille Cheek Gelée in Happy, just a little bit of it can serve to bring what color there is naturally on my cheeks up a little bit without it ending up looking like makeup, I hope. Yeah, that's a pretty natural, unmade up flush. The lips are still looking pretty made up. I'm going to take them down a notch. Blotting away the shine, I'm going to use a little bit of this. It's the Exa lip liner in the shade Bare Your Hopes, just to kind of mattify, honestly. There, that's the best I could do. We all know that there's a little bit of product on my lips, but they're not drawing as much attention to themselves. It's hard to tone it down, and also there's still a little bruise. It's probably because they're in this kind of half-healed state, and I think the hyaluronic acid does add a little bit of rosiness from within, so it's partly circumstantial, but I feel like that's the best we're gonna do with keeping it natural on the rest of the face. So now it's time for the fun part. Yeah, I think this Amicole liquid eyeshadow is gonna be it, because I need a color that's fun enough to really be a statement. I was also considering trying to do a green eye because some of the images that I am remembering have green as the eye, but all I have is like this dusky green and another kind of sparkly green. And I think if I were to go that route, I would kind of end up blending it out, blurring it out, and it would just be sort of like this muddy, swampy, smoky, grungy eye, just like what I always do. You know what I mean? This is really different for me. The question is, am I going to try to make it graphic? I'm gonna try. And then if I can't, I'll just blend it out and maybe wipe it off and start over. Okay, I found this little tiny brush, the Rephr 34. Actually already fierce. I already love it. I'm going to use it to draw a shape and then use something else to fill it in. Like, what did I get myself into? It's just paint, Hannah. It wipes away. They're all rooting for you. That's what I tell myself. So I'm trying to make this kind of wing shape, doing the outline, cutting it in really far because I have hooded lids, and if I do it right down here, it'll be like all over the place. Okay, I need to concentrate for a second. Okay, this is the status. They're not very even. It's partly because this one, it's like it goes up a little more, and this one is more of a swoop. This is more what I was going for, but I think I'm going to have to make it match this one because it's like I can build out this side, but I can't really take it down on this side. I think it's fine because as it's turning out, when I have my eyes open, it's sort of just this like wedge that comes out from the eye rather than the full graphic shape being visible. I like how it looks on this side. There's more of it on the lid. It's a little bit more graphic, more of a shape and less of like an echo of an actual wing, like winged makeup, winged eyeliner. So it feels a little bit more fresh and modern. I think both of them look fine. So I'm going to try to catch this side up with this side. Okay, this may be as good as we're going to get it right now. So interesting. A couple of things. One, the eyeshadow is taking a really long time to dry, even though it didn't on the back of my hand. I think this partly because of how the formula is behaving, but also because of this big fluffy doe foot applicator. I think it must really be designed for applying and then buffing out or smudging out with the fingers, getting a soft blurred edge, and not necessarily for graphic work like this. However, I do think it's going to dry down and be pretty budge proof, so I think it'll work for what I'm putting it through. The other thing that's interesting is this is what the shape looks like. It's sort of coming off of my eyelid, but it's not coming all the way out to the outer corner or all the way to the inner corner. The amount of blue that makes contact with my lash line is taking up about maybe 80% of the lash line from corner to corner, and it's the outer corner 10% is empty, and then the inner corner 10% is empty. It's coming up in a wedge. When it hits the crease of my eye, it's sort of changing shape, and that's making it so that when my eyes are open, you just see this one little corner poking out, but then the color continues down onto my lid. I totally improvised the shape based on my inspiration and also based on the desire not to let it get too out of control or kind of too far out to the edges. I kind of tried to keep it contained to minimize the chances that I would have to wipe it off and start over. The thing is, I was worried that this dramatic element would so completely overwhelm me that I wouldn't feel that the really simple skin-like natural undetectable makeup was downplaying makeup enough to make it feel okay, make me feel confident with the eyes. But it is. I really like it. I love it, actually. I feel like exactly what I imagined those models felt like who I was admiring, and exactly what I imagined it would feel like to have this makeup on, which is that I don't feel made up at all, but I do feel like I'm wearing kind of a lively accessory. And I also feel really confident in my skin and everything because I did put some makeup on it and spend some time trying to make it a little bit clearer. I also feel like I don't need mascara. I think that mascara would work with a look like this, clearly, but it would also interfere with the graphic shape a little bit, a slightly labored element. Like it would look a little bit more labored, whereas bare lashes look so fresh and unlabored, you know, even though ironically this clearly took labor. Maybe it's the combination of this with layers of mascara that would, I feel like, put it more into makeup look world and less in this kind of playful, graphic, easy space. So that's the look. Tell me what you think. I could really see doing this with just a really strong line of bright eyeliner, with that eyeliner under the eye that we saw in one of those images in my other video recently. I could see executing this in a number of ways. I think that the base with really toned down cheeks, skin, eyebrows, lips, etc. is a really successful support for something like this. What fun! Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed it too. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.